Hi everyone, I'm Isabella Maldonado and I've been working with Devlin to create these beginner storyline projects for you all. If we haven't met before, I'm a beginner as well. I've only been using Storyline for about three months at this point. I'm losing count, honestly. And for this project, we will be creating a playable piano from scratch. And this session will be recorded and uploaded later. So if for some reason you need to leave halfway through, that's okay. We will upload this workshop for you so you can watch it at a later date. And for this session, we'll be learning triggers, a little bit about states, and how to use audio in Storyline. And let's go ahead and view the project itself. We're going to be setting this project to a width of 19 by 20 pixels and a height of 10 by 80. And you can go to custom and type in these values. So I'll just leave this on my screen for a second. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move forward because we are running a little behind. So I'm going to go ahead and rename my slide to piano, just so I know it's my piano. And I'm going to go ahead and insert in my background. So I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to go to Pictures. I'm going to select from File. And I'm going to select my vector background from the file. And I'm going to use these handles to stretch it out so it fits our screen or our slide. And from here, let's see. Let's go ahead and start to build out our piano, and we can worry about our text last because the text is just adding a text box. That's all it is. So let's go ahead and rename this picture to our background. And I'm going to lock it just so I don't accidentally move it later on in this project. So I'm just going to select the lock icon. And all our piano is made out of is just rectangles. So we're going to go to Insert and we're going to go to Shape. We're going to select Rectangle. And we're just going to add our first rectangle. So for our project, we have two rectangles that make up the border of our piano. So we're going to build out those borders right now. And I don't have the exact measurement for the borders because I didn't plan on starting this project from scratch, but the width and the height measurements are right here. So I'm going to have this at a width of 1214 by a height of 200 pixels for our first rectangle. And I'm just going to copy and paste it to create our second rectangle, and I'm just going to adjust it. So I'm actually going to make sub adjustments because I didn't get the exact measurements. Okay, you can access the assets in the Google Drive. Okay, so we're going to add in our two rectangles to create our piano. And then to add in this gradient effect, so this right here, we're going to right click on the shape and we're going to go to Format Shape. So again, we are going to select the shape, then we're going to right click it, and then we're going to go to Format Shape. So from here, we're going to change the fill from solid to gradient, and I'm going to move our Format Shape out of the way, and as you can see, we added a gradient to it. So I'm not going to get it exactly the same because that'll take a while, but I'm just going to select Daybreak, and we're just going to leave it like this for now. So we're going to make that, let's see, we're going to make this, Daybreak. And then we're going to select our shape right here. We're going to select Gradient, and let's see, oops. We're going to also make a gradient, and we're going to make it Daybreak. So it's not going to be the exact same from the project because I didn't get the exact measurements, but this is what we're going to have to run with. So that's okay. Now let's go ahead and build out our first key. So again, awesome. Someone just typed in awesome colors. So we're going to go to Insert, we're going to go to Shape, and we're going to go to Rounded Rectangle because the keys are rounded. So let's go ahead and add in our first key. And we're going to go to Format, and we're going to make the outline white, and we're going to make the fill white, and we're going to make the outline black. We're also going to make the outline a width of 7 pixels. So again, the fill is white, the outline is black, and the outline is at a weight of 7. So this is our first key. Now I'm going to zoom in really quick so we can get a better view of it. And we're going to add in, now we're going to add in our key icon, basically. A key icon. Or what are they called? Numbers. So to add our number, we're going to first select our shape. So we're going to select it, and then we're going to type in the number we want. So I'm going to type in 1. And it looks like nothing was added, but that's because our font is white. So I'm going to go to Home, and I'm going to change this font color to black. So there's our number. Now, as you can see, our number is in the middle of our shape versus our the final version of our project, our numbers at the bottom. So we're going to actually move it to the bottom. And to do this, we're going to right click on the shape. We're going to go to Format Shape. We're going to go to Text Box, and we're going to change vertical alignment to the bottom. So that's how we're going to do that. And I'm going to close this, and I'm going to show you how to do that again. So right click on the shape. We're going to go to Format Shape, and we're going to go to Text Box, and we're going to change the vertical alignment to bottom. Now it's a little too close to the bottom, so we're going to increase the margins for the bottom. So I'm going to increase it to about 25 is good. So again, we're going to change the bottom margin to 25. Is anyone lost at the moment? Does anyone need help? Because I know I'm going a bit fast. Okay, cool. Let's see. So I'm going to close this, and I'm actually going to change this font as well. So I'm just going to select the text, and what was the text I used? Baloo? Yeah, Baloo 2. I like using this font. I don't know why. Oops. Typing in the name of the text is a bit buggy. There we go. So I like to use Baloo 2, but you can use whatever font you want. And I'm going to change this to a size of 44. So let's go ahead and save our project, just in case. So we're going to save it. I'm going to save it to my desktop. So we have it saved, and let's see. I'm glad everyone's having fun. Okay, so from here, I'm actually going to go ahead, and instead of building out the rest of the keys, I'm going to go ahead and build out this one key, and you all could use this information to build out the rest, because the rest of the keys are just kind of like a copy paste of the first key. So if you can program the first key, you can do the rest of the project. So the first thing we need to do is we need to add a state to our key right here. And let's go ahead and rename this key to 1_key, because it's a piano key. So we're going to call this our key 1_key. And originally the project had 17 keys, so it's really important that you name your shapes. Now from here, we need to add one state to this key. So we're going to go to States. We're going to go to Edit States. We're going to add a new state, and we're actually going to create a new state. We're going to create a new state, and we're going to call this state pressed, because we are pressing on that key. So we're going to create it, and we're going to have this state be a different color. So right now we're on the pressed state, so we're going to go to Format, and we're going to change the fill to a different color. So I'm going to change it to, this blue is fine. So again, we're going to go to Format, go to the Shape Fill, and we're going to go to this blue, or whatever color you want, really. And let's go ahead, and change the color of this font. So I'm going to select my text, and I'm going to go to Home, actually. I'm going to go to Home, and I'm going to use the color themed of the font, and I'm going to change this to white. So now we know what our key looks like when it's pressed. So we're going to select Done, and let's save it again, just in case. So let's see, let me look at my notes really quick, see where we can just jump in. Okay, So let's go ahead and add in the audio for this key. So when let me go back to the finished project. When we select the key, it plays that note. So let's go ahead and add in that audio file. So we're going to go to Insert, we're going to go to Audio, and we're going to select From File, and you will select that audio file for that note. So since this is key 1, we want to play the piano 1 sound. So I'm just going to click it and I'm going to add it. And notice that, sure, our audio is called piano 1, but in Storyline it renamed it to audio 1. So let's go ahead and rename it to piano 1 just so we can keep it consistent. Piano 1. And let's see, where can we go from here? I do want to add in one trigger. This trigger is just for us when we're developing it, because you're going to notice that when we go to preview our project, this sound is going to play automatically. So I'm going to go ahead and demo it actually. So let's see. So it automatically played that sound, and every time when you preview your project, it's going to make that sound until you program it. So let's go ahead and make a temporary trigger so it won't play that sound, because that's going to get really annoying really fast. So let's go ahead and delete these 2 triggers right here. And let's create a new trigger. So notice how our audio file, it ends at 1 second. Let's have our project start at 1.5 seconds, just so we don't have to hear that sound. So we're going to jump to a cue point. So we're going to jump to about, let's say, yeah, a second and a half on this slide when this timeline starts on this, when the timeline starts on this slide. And again, this is just for us, just so we don't have to keep hearing that noise every time we preview our project. So I'll leave this on the screen for a second so you all can copy it. And again, this trigger is so our project will start at 1.5 seconds versus 0 seconds, because we don't want to hear this audio again. So I'm going to go ahead and select OK, and let's preview it, and we won't hear that sound. Yeah, see, we didn't hear it this time. So I'm going to close this, and I'm actually going to go ahead, let me preview this again actually so I can show you all something. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this menu. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go to Story View, and let's go to the player under Home. So let me do that again because I kind of did it fast. So we're in Story View. We're going to go Home, and we're going to go and select the player. So in the player options, we are going to turn menus and controls off. And as you can see, we won't be seeing that anymore. So again, we're going to be turning menus and controls off. So I'm going to select OK. And let's go back to our project. Okay. So, am I losing anyone? Does anyone need help? Because I'm kind of speed running. Okay. Looks like no one needs any help, so let's go ahead and continue. Now, the first thing we need to do is we need to identify what we want our key to do. So we wanted to do 3 things. Let me go back to our final project. So the first thing we want to do is when we select it, either by selecting the key with our mouse or if we select the 1 button on our keyboard, we want it to play our sound. So that's the first thing we wanted to do. The next thing we wanted to do is we want this key to go to its press state when we select it. So when I select it, it's going to go into that press state. And the third thing we wanted to do is we want it to go back to being normal. So when I select it, it automatically goes back to its normal state. So let's go ahead and start working on, let's work on, what do you all want to work on? Do you want to work on the sound part, the state part, or which one? Actually, we have to work on the this, we have to program the state before we can program the sound. That's how this project is set up now that I think about it. So let's go ahead and start adding in the triggers that's going to change the state of this button. So let's go to a new trigger. And we want it, so every time we select the key with our mouse, it's going to go into our press state. So our action will be, we want to change the state of our key 1 to pressed when the user selects it. Let's see, where is it? When the user clicks on key 1. So this is our first trigger. So there we go. I'll leave this up on the screen for a second. So I'm going to select OK. And that is for when we select it with the mouse. We do need to add in another trigger for when we select it with our keyboard. So let's go ahead and add that. So we're going to change the state of our key 1 to pressed, not when the user clicks it, but when they press a button. So we're going to be using when the user presses a key. And in this column, we're going to be actually pressing the button on our keyboard. So I'm going to press the 1 button. And we want it to be after they click on this slide. Make sure it says this slide. This trigger is not going to work if it says something else. So again, we want to change the state of key 1 to pressed when the user presses 1. It says after clicking the slide, but you don't have to click on the slide. I'm not sure why Storyline does that. So let's go ahead and test out these 2 triggers. So when I select it, it's in our press state. And I'm going to go ahead and replay it because at the moment it's not going to go back to normal. So I'm going to select replay. And I'm going to select 1 on my keyboard. And it's on our pressed state. So those 2 triggers are working correctly. So that's great. Does anyone need me to repeat anything? Nope. Okay. So from here, we need to set up our project so that it will go set up our key so it will go back to being normal. Now, if we look at our triggers, there's not really a way, there's not a button that will automatically set our state to go back to normal after a certain amount of time. But we can use an audio file to do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert in a certain audio file. So we're going to go to Insert, we're going to go to Audio, and we're going to select From File. Now we're going to select and insert blank. So I'm going to go ahead and insert it. And for some reason it added it at 4 seconds, so I'm just going to go ahead and drag it to 0. But the interesting thing about this audio, and I'm also going to rename it, so I'm going to rename it blank so we know it's our blank file, is that there's no sound in this audio file. If we select it and it brings up this audio editor, if we play it, there's no sound, but it is about 0.2 of a second long. And we're going to use this audio file to trick Storyline into making our key go back to normal. So this is a bit crazy, but it works. So what we're going to do is we're going to first create a trigger to play this audio whenever our key is in the press state. So we're going to go to New Trigger. And we're going to play our media. So we're going to go to Play Media. We're going to play blank. And we're going to do this based on the state of the key. Not when the user interacts with it, but based on the state itself. So when the state of key 1 is pressed. So again, we want to play our blank audio file when the state of our key 1 is pressed. So this is our first key. I'll leave this up for a second so everyone can copy it. I'm going to go ahead and select OK. And from here, we also need to add in a second trigger. And this trigger is going to tell Storyline once once this piece of media is done playing, switch this key back to its normal state. So let's go ahead and add in a new trigger. So we are going to change the state of key 1 to normal when our piece of media is done playing. So we're going to go to, where is it? When the media completes, and we're going to select blank. So this is our second trigger. There's a question of what would happen if we didn't add in the blank audio. It would stay in its pressed state because Storyline doesn't know when to push it back to being into its normal state. So we're kind of using this audio piece more like a timer than an actual piece of audio. So that's the trick to this project. So I'm going to go ahead and select OK, and let's test out these two triggers. So when I select it, it should be pressed for about 0.2 of a second, and it should go back to normal. There it goes. So we don't hear it, but that audio piece, the blank audio piece we added, is being played in the background. And once it's done playing, it tells Storyline to turn this button back to normal. So that's how we're doing this. So that's great. Now from here, we can finally add in the audio piece, the audio piece to this note. So we're going to add in a trigger that's going to play our piano 1 note. So let's go ahead and add a new trigger. As you can tell, there's a lot of triggers in this project. And we're going to play this audio piece. So we're going to play it. We're going to play piano 1. And again, we're going to base this trigger off of the state itself rather than the user's input. So the state of our first key when it's pressed. So we're going to play our piano when the state of key 1 is pressed. I'll leave this up for a second. And then let's go ahead and preview our project. So I'm going to select it, and we should hear the piano note. Yes, we can. So we've got the note to play, but there is one little bug with it. I'm going to select it 3 times, but it's only going to play the audio once. The reason it's doing this is because Storyline thinks that this audio file only needs to play once. So long as it's playing, Storyline thinks so long as this audio piece is playing, it's fine. But what we want it to do is every time we select it, we want it to play. So we actually need to play it, stop it, and play it again. So we're going to actually add in 2 more triggers that's going to do this. So the first is we're going to add one, let's see, we're going to stop the media. So we're going to stop our media. We're going to stop piano 1. And for this, we're going to actually base it off of the user's input. So when the user clicks on our key. And we do need a little condition for this. Now, conditions are additional constraints for the trigger. So we're going to actually add in a condition that says, if the state of our key is normal, then we're going to activate this trigger. If not, then don't activate this trigger. So that's what we want for this trigger. So I'll leave this up for a second. And we do need a second one because this is based off of the user's input. And the second way the user interacts with our key is through the button. So we're going to add in another trigger, and we're going to stop the media when the user selects the number 1 button. So let's see, we're going to stop the media. We're going to stop piano 1 when the user presses 1. And again, we want it to say after clicking on this slide, and we want our condition as well. So we're going to go to objects. We're going to go to key. And we want the condition to say, if the state of key 1 is normal, then activate this trigger. So this is our second trigger. I'll leave this up for a second. So I'm going to go ahead and select OK, and let's preview our project. So when I select it, it still plays, but I'm going to select it 3 times, and it should stop and play the audio, so the note itself plays 3 times. Oh. It's still not doing that, and there's one reason why. Can anyone guess why it's still doing that? No, it does not have anything to do with our blank audio. It has to do with our trigger order. So if we look at our trigger order for our key 1, we're first playing our blank audio, then we're playing the piano note, then we're changing the state to pressed, and then we're stopping our audio, stopping the audio. By the time the trigger for the stop audio is about to, by the time the stop audio trigger is about to activate, the state already gets changed to press, and then that trigger doesn't need to be activated. So we actually need to change the trigger order. So to do this, we need to select the trigger, and we need to move it so it's above the pressed, we want to stop the audio before the state is changed. That's what we want. So first we need to play both of our audios, then we need to stop our audio, and then we can change its state. So that's the order we want it in. Now we also need to change the trigger order for the key as well. So if we look at our press keys, it's going to change its state, and then it's going to check to see if it's in the normal state. So we're going to do the same thing where we select our stop audio, and we're going to move it so it's above the trigger that controls the press state. So let's go ahead and check it out now. So if I select it, there we go. Now I can press it as many times. And let's check the buttons. Okay, so the keyboard's working as well. So that's how you would create this key for all the keys. So yes, I can show the trigger order again. So the trigger order for the keyboard is stop audio, and then we want to change the state. That's the important part. We want to stop the audio, and then we want to change the state. So for the keyboard, we want to stop the audio, then we want to change the state. For the actual object where the user selects it with their mouse, we're going to play both of our audios, then we want to stop the audio, and then we want to change the state. So we really want change the state to be at the very bottom. And this is the trigger order right here. Okay, so we would use that logic for our entire project. So let's go ahead and create our next key. So let's first select our key, and let's copy and paste it. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to select copy. Oops, that was not copy. Let's see what's happening here. There we go. So I was entering in text mode. So as you can see, I have my text cursor, and I was trying to copy and paste this way. You have to select the actual shape in order to copy and paste the shape. So I'm going to right click again, I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to paste it. Now I'm going to move, oops, why is it moving all like this? Now I'm going to move our new shape. Looks like I didn't copy and paste it properly. So let's paste it again, and let's move it. There we go. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to make sure these are aligned. There we go. So this is our second key, so let's go ahead and change this from a 1 to a 2, and let's rename this to 2_key. So we know that this is our second key. Now we don't want this key to play the same audio, the same piano audio, because it's a note higher. So let's go ahead and insert our new audio for this key. So we're going to go to audio, we're going to go to insert, we're going to go to audio, and we're going to go to audio from file. And we're going to select piano 2, which is the note for this key. So there we go. And for some reason, oh, it's inserting the audio at like 3 seconds because that's where I have my playhead. I'm going to go ahead and drag it all the way to the beginning. And I'm also going to rename it as well. So let's call this piano _2. So we know that this is for our second key. Now we're going to add the exact same triggers to this key. So if we select it, it looks like we have some triggers already attached to it from when we copied and pasted it. So let's see. Let's see what we have at the moment. So let's see. Actually, I'm going to delete these triggers and we can just start from scratch. So to see what triggers are attached to what shape, all you need to do is select it, and the triggers associated with that object automatically get highlighted. So these two automatically got highlighted. And it looks like it was just these two. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it so we can start from scratch. Okay, so let's add in the exact same triggers. We're going to add in the triggers that are going to change its state. So let's add those in. So new trigger. We want to change the state of our second key to pressed when the user presses 2. And we don't want it, we want to change this to this slide because it won't work if it's anything else, basically. For some reason, storyline, if it says like this object, after we select this object, it won't work. But for some reason, if it says after clicking on this slide, it will work even though we don't have to click on it. I'm not sure why storyline does that. So this is our first trigger. And then we're going to add in another trigger where we change the state based on the user clicking it with their mouse. So we're going to change the state of key 2 to pressed. And notice that our press state automatically got copied over. This is because we copied and pasted it, and it actually copied all the states with it as well. So we're going to change this to pressed when the user clicks on it. When the user clicks on key 2. Yep. So there we go. Let's preview this. Okay, so when I select it, it goes into our press state. I'm going to replay it, and I'm going to use my keyboard. Yes, when I select 2 on my keyboard, it changes to its press state. So that's good. Now, let's see. Now we're going to use the blank audio again. So let's see. We can actually, let me see. Not this trigger. There's a trigger. Actually, we can just create a new trigger. This will work as well. So we're going to play the blank trigger whenever this button is in its press state. So we're going to play our blank audio when this object is in its press state. So key 2 is pressed. So this is the trigger we want. There we go. And remember, there's a second part to this trigger where once this audio is done playing, this object will go back to its normal state. So let's add in that second part. So we're going to change the state of our 2 key to normal when our media is done playing. So when our blank audio is done playing. So when our media completes and when it's blank. Let's preview it. So if I select it, yeah, it'll play the blank audio, and then once the blank audio is done, it will go back to being normal. And the same thing for the keyboard as well. So there we go. Let's see, let's go ahead and add in the piano note. So let's see, did I already import it? Yeah, I already imported it. So let's add our trigger. So when this item is in its press state, it will play this note. So we're going to play our audio. So we're going to play our piano 2 audio when our object is in its press state. So this is the trigger we want for that. So play piano 2 when the state of key 2 is pressed. And remember that the audio corresponds with the key, the name of the key. So key 2, we want to play piano 2. So there we go. And let's preview it so we can see that it's working properly, basically. So if I select it, yep, we hear it, and it's a different note. Let me make sure the keyboard is working as well. So yep, the keyboard is working. And from here, we need to add in the 2 triggers that are going to stop the audio. So let's go ahead and add in our next 2 triggers. So we're going to stop our media. So we're going to stop piano 2 when the user clicks on it and when the user presses the number 2 button. So let's see, when the user clicks on this, and do not forget the condition, this trigger won't work if you don't add the condition. So when the state of key 2 is normal. So this is the trigger we want to add in. So again, we're going to stop piano 2 when the user clicks key 2 if the state of 2 key is normal. So there we go. Now let's go ahead and change the trigger order. So let's go ahead and push it so it's above the press state. And let's add in our last trigger. And this last trigger is going to be for our keyboard. So we're going to go to stop media. We're going to stop piano 2 when the user presses a key. So when they press the 2 key, and make sure again this says this slide. And for our object, we're going to have this as our condition. So this is our last trigger for this key. So there we go. And let's make sure everything is working. Yep. And then let me check the keyboard. Oh, it's not working on the keyboard, and that's probably because I forgot about the trigger order. So I already have it selected, so I'm going to push it above the change of state. So remember, we want to first stop the audio, and then we want to change the state of the object. So now it should work. Yeah. So now our keyboard is working. So if your keyboard isn't working, if the audio is not playing every time you select it, it's probably an issue with the trigger order. Now we're running out of time, but for these keys, it's the exact same way. So let's go ahead and see if we can create this key. We're probably not going to be able to rig it, but let's go ahead and see if we can make it. So we're going to copy and paste. So we're going to copy and paste one of our rectangles. So we're going to copy it. We're going to paste it. And then let's go ahead and change its appearance. So we want it to be black and we want our font to be white. So there we go. Oh, and if to do this, you would go to Format, you would go to Fill, you would select black for the fill, and then you would go to Home and you would use the font color to change the font to white. Now we're going to use these handles and we're going to resize this key. And then from here, we're going to drag it so it's in between our key. So that's how we would add in these black keys right here. And rigging them is the exact same thing as the other keys. So yeah, that's this project. We didn't get that far in, but every key is pretty much the exact same. All you're really doing is just changing the audio sound. So that's it. Sorry, this project really didn't go as planned, but thanks for everyone for sticking through it. And again, I will be at the tables if you need me to repeat anything or if you have any other questions.